Well, most people that go to jail after a traffic stop do not go to jail because they're criminals. Go because they will not shut up. And that's a fact. This is Jack and GT here from Fed Joints and Beer Joints. And GT, you know what I'm talking about. You've seen it. You've probably been there. Might have been in the car yourself.
Oh God, have I been? I've had a different. I always had a different, viewpoint of it from most regular traffic stops. Invariably I had drugs. A lot of times I'd have a couple 100 pounds of pot in my trunk. So my whole point was get me a ticket and get the hell out of there. Not trying to talk my way out of a ticket. I was always just I'm trying to get up there and leave. But from your experience as, law enforcement, you found people that probably could have got a ticket and decided they wanted more.
Well, yeah, they just couldn't stop. And that back when I was a cop, it was always amazed me. People won't shut up. They think when you stop them, it's either a performance or a debate, and it's neither one. Okay, and that's what you got to figure. When you get stopped, the key thing is there's certain requirements you have. And driver's license, now insurance. They didn't have it back then, but driver's license, insurance, and registration. Beyond that, don't talk. And and a cop will walk you into admitting all kinds of shit, and people do it because they think they're gonna outsmart him, or they're gonna have a great explanation, something that's gonna explain everything, and not one time in the history of the world, I bet, has a cop ever been on a traffic stop and said, "Wow, that was such a great explanation. Let's just forget this whole thing." And people fall for shit. I gotta tell you, when they first go up to your car, this is when it gets me. This is where people fall into it right away. "Do you know why I'm stopping you?" And people will say, "I must have been going a little fast or something like that." Shut up! Just say, "No, no." Even if you were going 90 and a 25, go, "No." Act like it, that's the one time it's a good way to act like an idiot is when you get stopped. You know what I'm
But
talking
Jack,
about.
but a lot of times too, you know what is the other big sucker move is the cop will come up. "Have you been drinking?" "Oh no." And look, and they'll sit there and tell you, "Look, if you lie to me, I'm going to take you to jail. If you tell me the truth." And then they always come up with the old, I know you never heard this one, but well, I might have had a couple beers.
Yeah. The thing is, it goes right down to it, okay? It really works. It's cooperation versus silence. Cooperation gets you nowhere. When you hear that word cooperate, you're in trouble. So if the cop says to you, like you just said, "I know you've been drinking. If you don't tell me the truth, I'm going to take you to jail." Well, he's not going to take you to jail if you've been drinking. There is no win. Your sentence is not going to be, if you get arrested, let's say you're guilty and you get arrested, your sentence is not going to be enhanced because you didn't talk. It's a constitutional right. It's like the other thing that gets me. People say, "Well, I'd call a lawyer when they get arrested," but they said it makes you look like you're guilty. No, it makes you look like you're intelligent. Call your lawyer or just don't fucking talk. It's very simple. It's like searching cars. And this is things I used to actually say to people when we stop 'em. If I thought somebody had something in the car, I can't just search it. I can, if I think there's a weapon there, it's one thing, but I think there's drugs or something else we're looking for. And most of the time, it's a fishing expedition. We'd say to them, "Hey, we have a release piece of paper. So you want to sign this release? We can look to your car." They go, "No." I said, "Okay, here's what we're going to do. Either you sign this or my partner here is going to stay here with the car and I'm going to go back and get a search warrant for your car. And when I come back with that search warrant, we're going to dump this car. We're going to give it back to you in kit form. You can rebuild it. So what do you want to do?" Then they'd sign it. I didn't have grounds to say any of that shit. Nothing. Because if I go back to a judge and say, "I want a search warrant for this car," he goes, "Why?" "Because I want to search it." "Why?" "Because I think there's something in there." "What makes you think there's
Well,
something in there?" "It's a hunch." No, ain't gonna happen. If I think there's something in that car, I'm not gonna have that discussion with you. Cops are not gonna discuss shit with you if they've got you. They got you, they got you. You know,
yeah.
when that negotiating thing is bullshit. That's all that
No.
it is.
I'll let them search my car if I know for an absolute fact there's nothing in it. And one question I'll always answer if they a lot of I've been asked, "Do you have weapons in the car?" "Nope." I was a convicted felon. I didn't carry weapons. That's a quick way to get you a little trip back to federal prison. And so I would always say, "Well, no, sir, not." And if I knew I didn't have nothing, and they say, "Do you care if I look around?" "No, go ahead."
Most people aren't street savvy and they get very nervous. So if the cop says, and the cop's not your enemy, but he's not your friend. If he gets something, he gets something. So if he wants to search your car, he said, no, I don't consent to any searches. If he says he's going to get a search warrant, have him get a search warrant. Just have him
Yeah.
get it. Yeah. The thing that most people, like I said, that most people don't know any of the laws when they get stopped, and that's the issue they got. So they're going to jump around. They're going to get out of the car. The guy's going to search the car. They can't order you out of the car. A lot of people got the impression of this stuff in Minnesota. Oh, they can't order you out of the car. Yeah, they can. There's a law, Pennsylvania versus Mims, and another one, Maryland versus Wilson, that both said, yo, they can order you out of the car. Doesn't mean anything else. You still don't have to talk because you're out of the car. You don't have to say anything, and so people get all freaked out about it. You have these rights. Now, operating a motor vehicle is a privilege, it's not a right, but your inherent right that goes with you everywhere you go. So the key to it is just don't answer any questions. You don't have to answer any questions, period. Provide your identification, and that's it. Now, some guys, I've seen this happen. I had guys that used to do this, and they didn't want their car searched, so they get in this big argument with the cop. So the cop arrested for disorderly conduct. And then he could search the car from front to back, inside and out, tear it apart, because it's called search incident to arrest. If they arrest you in your car, they're going to search your car because they have to inventory it before they tow it. Now you screwed yourself. Now you got disorderly conduct for being a loudmouth, and they found all your shit in your car that you were trying to hide. Just shut up. You know, that's the biggest rule on the traffic stop.
Now I didn't know that about the searching part, and it makes sense about the if they have to tow your car, they don't want the tow truck driver stealing all of your shit. So that makes it all legal. And another thing you brought up, I didn't know it till you just said it, is they can make you get out of your car. And
Yeah.
so if you sit there and say, fuck no, I'm not getting out of my car, you can refuse a search, in other words. But if they tell you to get out of your car, that doesn't mean they can search your car, but they can order you out of your car. Now, I didn't know that till just now.
Yeah, it's two laws. It's Maryland, Pennsylvania. Both had appellate cases. They stand by Pennsylvania Mims and Maryland Wilson Williams or Wilson, one of the two. Anyway, both said they can order you out of your car. Now on TV, I heard them saying Minnesota. They said you can't order you out of your car. But here's the bottom line. They can order you out of your car. Whether you get out or not is subject to what's going to happen next. And so some people say, well, shit, I'm not going to get out. Let them arrest you. We'll go to court. Here's my thing. Do you really want to go to court? Sometimes you got to leverage reality a little bit, because if you've never been to court and you think you're 100% right, and let's say you are 100% right and they can't order you out of your car, okay? Then let's say you get a ruling. You still got to go to court. You got to pay your attorney. The government's not going to pay your attorney, okay? No public defender is going to take an appellate case all the way up the hill to fight that law. Ain't going to happen, And
Hey, and worse than going to court is getting booked into county jail. I mean, come on, if you can avoid that's number one thing. Don't go to jail. It's no fun. Uh, and if you're like in LA County, and like me and you were talking about the other day, or Cook County, if you live in Chicago, it takes you a day sometimes to get booked into LA County, and you're lost in there. I mean, until you're booked, you can't get OR'd or bailed or anything. Once in a while, a good bail bondsman can come pull you out mid thing, but most of the time they just go, "Oh no, he's being booked in still," because they like to fuck with you.
yeah. So in closing in that part right there, before we move on, there's just 4 things to do if you get stopped. First of all, keep your hands visible. That's a big deal. I was a cop. I didn't like people suddenly moving around in the car, shit like that. It's going to put you on your guard. Those guys want to go home at night too. Keep your hands visible. Number 2, be calm. Just be calm. Let them come up to your car. Provide your documents, driver's license, your insurance, and your registration. Have that shit right there someplace. I actually keep mine. I got a little cubby hole on top of the dash. So if I have to reach for it, it's right there. They can see it. Have and I tell them, they stop me. I would tell them it's in my wallet right back here in my left pocket. So they'll know you pull it out of there, and my stuff's in the dash, pull it out, and hand it to them. That's the end of my conversation. Do you know why I stopped you? No idea. Did you happen to check your speed and you came back to there? No, I didn't. You just nothing. There's nothing for you to say at that point like that. So that's the 4 things. Hands visible, be calm, provide your documents, and then quit talking. That's it. That's the 4 keys to a traffic stop. It's very simple. The other thing, and I'm going to bring this up, we're going to go on this one much deeper later, but this is what I get asked about a lot. People say to me, well, the cop stopped me. I ended up getting arrested and that kind of stuff there, and I've told him he's full of shit. He never even gave me my Miranda. Now, the Miranda waiver is one of the most misunderstood documents in the history of time, probably right with the Magna Carta, you know? And here's the thing with that. They don't have to give you your Miranda warning unless you're detained or arrested. So, how you find out if they need to is ask them, am I under arrest? Am I being detained? If the answer is yes, but if you're sitting there blabbering, and we used to do this shit all the time, we get somebody talking, we didn't give them Miranda, you're voluntarily giving them a statement. We don't have to tell you nothing. Even if you're handcuffed, even if you're sitting in the jail, even if you're in the booking room and you're talking and they haven't given you Miranda yet, there's a reason. It's because you haven't shut up. You know,
So that's that's considered voluntary, and they don't have to,
Voluntary.
even though, but although if you're in the jail, no, that means you've been arrested.
Here's the Miranda though. Miranda doesn't mean anything other than the
Yeah.
fact it said you had the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you in a court of law. Have to have an attorney, have one present while you're being questioned. You can't afford to hire a lawyer, want to be appointed to represent you for any question if you wish. Decide at any time, exercise his rights, not answer any questions or make any statements. Pretty good after all these years, I can remember that son of a bitch, but that's it. And I didn't read it off the card. All that is about your statements. It doesn't mean if they arrest you and put you in jail and never ask you anything, you go to court and the judge goes in there and stuff and they prosecute you. And all they can really take away is a statement you made if they questioned you. That's what it is.
As long as
If you're
they don't
guilty of,
ask you a question.
yeah,
Yeah.
they
Then
don't have to
if
ask.
you're telling on yourself, all that's admissible.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything you say, you know, and for example, let's say you get picked up for drunk driving. And you want to you give a breathalyzer. You go in, they give you a breathalyzer, and there's an intox report, and they ask you how many beers you had, when's the last time, blah blah blah. Now, if they don't give you a Miranda prior to that, and they read it to you, it's not admissible. But your breathalyzer test is, and so is your alcohol, and your if you take a blood test, it's admissible. So, and people say, well, how can that be? Well, all you have to do is give consent or denial for a test. You don't take the test, they take your license immediately. You give consent, they're going to take your license anyway if you're over the limit. But that's the only question that pertains to that evidence. That's it. You know, think about it this way here. Someone gets arrested for murder. They read him his Miranda rights. He answers no questions. Okay. When somebody's arrested for murder, they don't read him Miranda and he doesn't answer any questions. So what? They
What's
get
the
evidence,
difference?
convict you, you're convicted.
Yeah.
That's it. The Miranda really deals with, yeah, you do have a right to an attorney, and now there are some judges that will get a little freaky about a case because you haven't told them they have a right to an attorney, but the evidence is still evidence.
So if you don't, like right now, let's just say Tiger Woods just got arrested, and he refused to take breath test, and and then it turns out, he started telling him about, he takes medication because he's had 20 surgeries. They found this morning, they found a couple oxys in his pocket. He took a breath test, but he wouldn't take a urine test. That's what it was. He blew zeros on the breath test, but when he got in custody, he wouldn't take a urine test. Now, does that affect you if you refuse? Because that's a drunk driving drugs. That's different, but it's still a DUI. You're intoxicated on narcotics instead. What does that do if you take a breath, but if you refuse a urine, can they punish you for that too? Or
Yeah, it depends on if it's a field sobriety. This is my
yeah,
understanding from years ago. It was a field sobriety uh, breath test. Yeah, that I don't believe ties you down to anything. If you refuse that, they can't take it. Once you're in the building and they have a scientific method by which to take a sample, that's where that comes in. If you don't want that, then I believe they can jerk your license right there.
that's
Now is
pretty
that
much
admission?
like alcohol. It's pretty
Yeah,
much the same thing as refusing a breathalyzer in jail or a
yeah,
blood test and stuff like that. So,
yeah.
and he's got a few priors, and so he's probably going to get in a little bit of trouble over this.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I would say so. Tiger, hard to believe he's in trouble. But yeah, that's the thing about one thing I was gonna say on that part right that there too is if you think about it, what people don't understand the Miranda thing, there are people in accidents and they'll be unconscious. And so they may never get a Miranda. There's a form called uh, unconscious or otherwise incapable of giving a refusal to a test. Now, that name may have changed, but that's what it is. A doctor certified this person's unconscious or they're dead, take the test, you know, and they can still use that too. And so that form is totally separate from the Miranda thing. The Miranda deals, and like if people get picked for public intox. This slays me. I know a guy picked up public intox. He goes, I'm fighting it. They didn't give me a Miranda. For public intox? Are you shitting me? Do you think they care? You were drunk. What kind of a
Yeah.
statement do they need from you? It's a street level thing. It's not even a traffic violation. I mean, it's $50 and a night in jail. The judge is going to go, Miranda. Who cares? You know.
Yeah.
And so Miranda, did you know Miranda himself? I think the guy the name of the law was named after. I think he was stabbed to death in a bar fight. I got to check on that later on. After this famous case he
Oh,
had.
Miranda was a victim, huh?
Yeah, he was a guy who actually did actually had they that it was a case where they actually took it. I think it was a public defender took the case, and ultimately they beat it, and that's what I wanted to bring up. Such as the Miranda thing is, if you're being questioned by the police and you've been arrested, and you ask for an attorney, all questioning should stop at that point. Period, because you have now invoked your right for counsel. So some cops will keep talking to you afterwards and, don't say anything. You shouldn't say any other than that anyway.
Yeah, and most of them are recorded, and if you ask for an attorney, they record all them conversations if you're in a interview room.
Let me tell you a couple things we used to do. When I was working with a thing called ASAP, Alcohol Safety Action Program. We were arresting drunk drivers. And we used to get guys on this one all the time. And so we get them in the car, and this, I just want you to have a seat in my car with me. Mistake. Don't ever do that. Sat in the passenger seat, and I said, kind of smell a little bit of booze on you. Let me ask you something. Uh, you don't look like you're much of a drinker, so you probably had more than one or two anyway. You probably can't even handle that much. And the young guys go, oh, fuck, I can handle more. And I've had 6 or 8. Yeah.
That
They,
isn't right, and you're
yeah,
proud of
it,
yourself for tricking them,
it's
huh?
awful. It's like when I
You
give
ch
people field sobriety tests, there's the old Romberg test when you stand with your feet together and your arms out your side, touch your
Yeah.
nose, and a lot of guys use that. I didn't use it. I use a really simple one, and that be hold your hand in front of your face, take your finger and count your fingers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You know, and then I'd say, put your hand to your side now, close your eyes. I said, you kind of feel yourself weaving a little bit, whether they were or not. And they go, yeah.
The power of suggestion.
And it is, and it's extreme. It's more than just power. It's like they are almost in a trance to get that point. So that's where it goes back to. Don't say anything, you know, at all. And I guess that's the key to the whole damn
Can
thing.
you refuse can you refuse to do a field sobriety test?
Yeah, that's a state by state thing. And actually, all the field sobriety test is one more anchor around your neck because they stopped you for that reason. And the first thing in the report is how if they're stop you for a traffic violation, it's how you were driving your car. Were you touching the center line? Did you roll through a stop sign? When they rolled down the window, could you smell booze rolling out of the car? All that stuff. So the field sobriety is just one more thing, is all that is.
Right, it's just part of the whole case. That's funny you bring that up. Let me go back to that Tiger Woods thing because that's he rolled his vehicle here and he crawled out of the passenger side door. And, he had clipped the trailer. He closed in at a high rate of speed. He said he was adjusting his stereo. Well, he crawled out of the window, and then the cops came, and they had him do a bunch of field sobriety tests, and they said he failed them, and he took a breath test. Now, for him, I would just say, "No, I'm kinda dizzy. I just got in a car wreck. I'm not taking a field sobriety test." But he took them, and he could have probably refused it right then, or he might be able to get him thrown out because he had just rolled a vehicle.
It could be. It goes back to the thing, Tiger Woods can afford an attorney, you know?
Going with Don Jr.'s ex-wife, man.
Yeah.
He's a Trump he's hanging out with a Trump in Florida. Of course he's
Well, all
gonna
he's
get a
gotta do is
break.
find a Trump judge down there or something. But for
They don't
most
have them
people, it
down
really
there.
boils well, yeah, it really boils down to when they say cooperate, don't trust the word cooperate. Be kind, be polite, but remember, you really don't have to say anything, you know? You don't tell them how fast you're going, don't tell them if you saw the stop sign. You don't have to tell them anything other than the documents you gotta provide to identify yourself. Next time we'll talk about passengers, and which is very interesting, the case history in that, because passengers have more rights than they think they do, and it's something else they fall into all the time. But like I said, this basically talking traffic stops. Miranda will talk more about that next time. Plus, we're going to talk about what happens when your ass is going into jail for sure, and you might be headed to the feds. Got anything to add to this? Other than be sure and subscribe, everybody. We should have said this earlier. If you had any experiences you want to tell us about it, put it down in the comments. I'd like to hear 'em. Jack and GT, Fed Joints, Beer Joints. See you next time.